Hello and welcome to episode 47 of the Retreadcast. Today we welcome back Doug Conley from Shamrock Marketing. Doug was one of our very early interviewees on the Retreadcast when we launched the podcast during the COVID pandemic back in 2020. So today, David speaks to him on a whole range of subjects, from his thoughts on the US administration's approach to tariffs and how the political chaos has impacted the retreading equipment market, to their plans for developing their business overseas. Doug rounds off the interview by summarising Shamrock's key plans and targets for the next few years. You can now watch the full interview.
Good afternoon. I think it's true to say that much of business and political thinking across the whole of industry has been influenced by the transformation that has taken place in the United States over the past few months. It's therefore fitting that in today's edition of the Retreadcast, we welcome back the president of one of the leading suppliers to the US retreading industry, Doug Conley from Shamrock Marketing Inc. Now, Shamrock Marketing is a family-owned business, which is well known across the Americas as a supplier of retreading equipment, tools, and accessories. So it'll be fascinating to hear Doug's take on the latest developments in the US and how his company is facing up to the challenges of today's ever-changing market. Hello, Doug, and welcome back to the Retreadcast.
David, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Not at all. Now, the last time you and I spoke was during the TIA conference in Puerto Rico, which took place only a few weeks into the new administration under President Trump. Now that 100 days has passed since the inauguration, how do you view prospects for the retreading industry in the US? And in particular, there are those who say that the current approach to tariffs, etc., should in principle be good for US-based industries. Do you subscribe to that view, or is the whole situation currently too confused to make a value judgment on it?
Sure, that's a great question and top of mind for everybody.
Yeah.
I'll say that from my perspective and my experience, change is a messy business. You don't have change without some disruption, and we're definitely, as a country and as an economy, and even global trade, we're going through some significant change. So, as far as tariffs are concerned, it's also my view that tariffs are beneficial potentially in the short term, but in the longer term, our industry in particular, the retreading industry, needs to focus on how we can become more competitive versus tier 3 and tier 4 tires. And becoming more competitive really comes down to a couple areas, which in my mind is automation. So how can we increase efficiency in the retread plants, namely produce more tires per man hour? And how can we increase the quality of a finished retread that goes into the field and competes with a tier 3 or tier 4 tire? In addition to that, I think retreading has a huge advantage that's not well advertised or advocated, in that the sustainability is a huge benefit that retreading offers. And sustainability, regardless of your political views, is good business. And retreading is a sustainable industry that doesn't require any types of government subsidies or assistance. It just needs to make sure there's a level playing field, and then it produces the benefits of reduced carbon and landfill waste and these other types of benefits versus a new tire. So if we look at the industry overall, say in the short term, hopefully the tariffs will help the industry at least get over the hump from some of this dumping that's happening from these other markets, putting cheap tier 3, tier 4 tires into the US. And then what do we do as an industry to make sure that long-term retreading is a very viable and preferred option? And that's really up to us as an industry to achieve.
Absolutely. So, well, what trends have you noticed in the US market over the last 3 or 4 months?
Well, I think the main word that we hear most often is uncertainty. And there's no such thing as certainty. I think that's probably the first thing, especially in business. However, what what we all need to know is what are the rules of the game. And if the rules of the game continue to change or they're unknown, it creates that uncertainty that I think most people refer to. And if the rules of the game are not known, or they change from one day to the next, people freeze. And that's what we see, I think, not just in the United States, but around the world, where a lot of people are sitting on their hands and just, recognizing that, hey, we're actually living in a 90-day world, and there's tariffs, and then there's reprieve, and then there's 90 days, and this and that. And that creates a lot of delay. And in business, I think delay or freezing is the same as a project not happening. So in the short term, it's definitely having a downward pressure on economic activity, and we'll see where that folds out. My personal feeling is once we know the rules of the game and it's established and there's some confidence that it's going to be longer than 90 days, that will start to free things up as far as people making investments and looking at things beyond just getting through today or tomorrow.
Yeah, so that brings me on to the next question, which I wanted to ask about how the political turmoil is affecting the equipment sector. I mean, are retreaders more or less willing to invest in new equipment at the moment, and how is it affecting those companies importing equipment from overseas?
Sure. Well, I think on the first, importing or exporting anything right now is essentially a logjam. Folks
Oh,
are just a little bit frozen, and we hear it from customers. How do the tariffs impact our importations? How do they? And then internally we look at, okay, well, if we're importing or exporting or we have components, because the supply chain today, like most companies, has components that come from all over the world, and there could be
oh.
assembly here or whatever else it may be. So that whole what is the cost today and then how does that affect pricing really becomes an ongoing conversation. And so when we're providing quotations to customers, whether it's equipment or any other product, we've always got that disclaimer. By the way, if there's any significant change in tariffs or something unpredicted happens with tariffs or anything else for that matter, we can't allow or can't stand by the quotation for longer than a shorter period of time. Normally, we feel confident in stretching that quotation period out, but it's shortened, and most likely that's the case for all businesses today. It's they either push through a price increase or they say, hey, everything we're doing is in short spurts until we get through this period of uncertainty.
Sure. So, I mean, let's talk about your approach to the market at the moment, and I mean, what's your plans for developing your overseas business? I mean, you've got quite a strong business in, especially in Latin America, haven't you, and so on.
Yeah.
So, what are your plans?
Sure. Well, our primary focus, especially the last, I would say since 2020-ish, has been the U.S. market, and it continues to be our primary focus. However, we've made some personnel changes with our technical services team and our sales team in the Latin America region, and we've identified specific markets that we think show potential and that we will continue to grow. The same challenges are present though, in that it's difficult for the companies the companies in Latin America or any other region to import with confidence, because in addition to there being tariffs, there's a lot of fluctuation in the foreign exchange, especially the US dollar, where just this year it's fluctuated probably plus or minus 10% versus most other currencies,
Hmm.
if not more. And that creates another variable for folks, because the US, we have the luxury of working in US dollars almost around the world, whereas most of customers or suppliers, when they're dealing with US dollars, they've got that foreign exchange to consider also. So in addition to the logjam with the trade, there's also the foreign exchange component that's a consideration for folks.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you also about digital marketing, because I know that you've always had a proactive approach as a company to digital marketing. I just wondered whether you'd had any plans for further development of this approach. I noticed, for example, you've recently added a bookshelf of technical leaflets on your
Yeah,
website, and I just wondered whether you were looking to expand that because I think that's a great idea.
sure. Yeah, no, we continued to invest in digital marketing, and the old rule of thumb in marketing is you have to be where the eyeballs are. And as you very well know, you have to
Mm,
be on the wherever the iPhone is, because whether you go to the beach or the kids play at school, I mean, people are continuously on their iPhones.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah, digital components big for us. The trade shows that we've done in the front half of this year so far, historically we would have brought a lot of hard printed materials, which we still bring somewhat, but we've really made a push to move to digital. And those bookshelves that you see is really our marketing team's initiative to allow our customers to be able to scan a QR code and be able to see all the materials available at their fingertips. And we've got a lot of positive feedback from that effort from our customers. From going to trade shows yourself, you have Auto Promo Tech coming up. Oftentimes you get into the hall and you get a bag and it's full of stuff, and then you have to transport it back on the airplane or in the car and carry it around through the trade show, and it's inconvenient. And
Mm,
so
yeah.
this movement to digital, where we've got these bookshelves set up, has allows the visitor to our booth or to our tabletop to scan everything, have it on their iPhone, and carry it with them, so that we're on the airplane, it's easy to flip through and read it on the way home. Um, so that's been very effective, and part of that initiative, we've just launched or relaunched our Shamrock YouTube page,
Yeah.
and the team's done a good job giving it revitalized the format and the layout and the different video content. And we now have an initiative where we'll be producing significantly more and relevant YouTube videos that will go on that page, and it'll allow customers to better understand some of the products that we're offering and solutions that we offer. We all know that reading is becoming less and less. It's more of a chore for folks than it used to be, and so if you can put something into a video and get it
Yeah.
conveyed to someone in 20 or 30 seconds, it's very effective. So we're making a push in that direction, and I'm sure you'll see more from us in the next 6 months from that YouTube page.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to that. And you're quite right. Everything has changed so much over the last few years as a publisher. But
Yeah,
we see that every day. I mean, as you say, people read print less than they did, but they get their news from the internet, from videos and so forth. So it's good to see you doing so much in that area.
thank
So.
you.
Uh, Going on to new products now, I know you wanted to talk to us particularly about your new automatic marking system for use with NDT machines. So perhaps you could
Yeah,
tell us a bit about that.
sure. Well, we've got a great two-page spread in the most recent issue of Retreading Business, page 40, that goes into these details. But in summary, we're really excited about it, and what we understand in the North American retread market is that the number one challenge or issue for retread plants after personnel, on product quality, is really missed nail holes. And when a missed nail hole makes its way through the retread plant and it gets to the curing chamber, it results in a rerun, or if it makes it out the door to the customer, it's going to fail in the field. And if that happens and it fails in the field, it doesn't only hurt the reputation of the retread producer themselves, it hurts the reputation of our industry. And so we see it as uh, an obligation, a responsibility to do something about that and see how we can help our customers improve the product quality. Additionally, a rerun inside the retread plant is essentially a form of scrap. And there aren't many manufacturers, or any manufacturers for that matter, that can produce profitably with 3 to 5% scrap rate. And when we survey our customers in the industry, that's the type of feedback we get is, hey, we have 3 to 5% rerun rate, and the vast majority of that is related to missed nail holes. So when we looked at that problem, nail holes, the responsibility of identifying a nail hole has been traditionally at initial inspection using a high voltage non-destructive testing units such as Hawkinson or Brannick high voltage. And originally that Hawkinson NDT was developed and patented in 1982. And the technology itself to this day works very effectively. The challenge is that the NDT is entirely dependent on the operator to then mark the tire. So the NDT can send a signal and say, hey, there's an anomaly, there's a problem in this tire, there's a nail hole. However, if the operator doesn't mark the tire, the casing won't follow the correct path to the repair area, and then it ends up creating a problem. And so, like most things in the retread plant today, if it's very dependent on the operator, it's also susceptible to some errors, and that's what we see. The other part of that component is, it's kind of easy to blame labor, and I don't think that's the way we're looking at it. We're looking at it, I'll take my kids, for example. In 1982, if I said to my daughter, hey, go pick up the telephone and dial your grandmother, she'd look at first of all, she'd, look for a cell phone, and there wouldn't be one. And she'd walk over to the wall, and there'd be something hanging there with a rotary and a long cord, and look at it and try to dial it and operate it. And, those of us that are familiar with how a rotary phone works, we'd say, oh, what's wrong with this kid? Like, they don't know what they're doing. They're not, mechanically capable, etc. When in reality, it's, if you hand that same cell phone to a grandfather today, and they've never used one before, they say, what the heck is this? So it's that gap between, technology and the folks using it. So you take a 25-year-old kid or younger, and you stick them in an NDT machine, and you expect them to be able to operate it and run it properly. It's perhaps an unrealistic expectation. And so we've said, okay, the operator is an issue. The machine itself works effectively. Well, let's remove the operator. How do we do that? And so that's what our team put together. And we have an automatic marking system. And when the NDT says, hey, there's a hole here, sends it, gives us a spark or a signal, we mark the tire in various methods automatically. And we've got a machine in the field now for a month, just over a month, and we have a second one that's going to be going into the field shortly. And the results so far, the data that we see is beyond impressive. In addition to identifying missed nail holes that the operator has missed at that 3 to 5% range, which is what we expected, which is significant. In addition to that, we're finding that the machine is marking things that the operators would otherwise just not mark at all. One of which is deep injuries. And deep injuries are something where an item like a screw has penetrated the tire but not gone all the way through the inner liner. And traditionally, that may or may not get marked by the operator, and the operator isn't necessarily incorrect in not marking it. The hope is that when it gets to the skive station, Skiver will identify it, and if it needs to have a patch or repair, will get pushed into the repair area. Well, our technology actually will mark that. And then when it gets to the skive and repair area, the tire is clearly marked, so it's not going to get missed and can get pushed into the right area. And another unexpected area that we found that's really raised inquiry is that we're seeing different performance from different casings. And I don't know what it's like in Europe, but in the United States today, if you walk into a truck tire retread plant, you would be amazed at the number of brands that you see on the side.
Sure. Yeah.
Still, the big brands are number one, but there's many brands, and a lot of these brands are coming from factories that we don't know much about, and the buff profiles are different, and there's lots of considerations with that, and we're finding that the NDT, actually the sensitivity of the NDT performs differently with these different casings. And so what that means is that the operators, again, at the front end doing initial inspection, they don't know that, they're probably not accounting for it, and so they could start to get false positives and not know what to do with it, and then they become confused. And essentially stop marking the tires properly. So in identifying that, we believe that when we dive deeper, we'll be able to help provide some recommendations and some possible solutions to those issues. So we're excited about that technology, and we're looking forward to continue to collaborate and really bring it to the market at a larger scale. And I believe it's going to be very beneficial to the industry to help us, like I said at the beginning, beyond tariffs, we have to get better at automation. We have to get better at quality. And this is the number one quality issue in the retread plant, and we're utilizing automation to help our industry get better in producing higher quality retreads.
Perfect. Okay. Well, last question now. In order to summarize, perhaps you can just give us an overall summary on what your key plans are for the business over the next 2 or 3 years.
Sure. Yeah, well, we're roughly 200 days into becoming what's called an EOS organization, which is an operating system that we've tapped into that's going to help our core processes and functions become more efficient and more effective. And I think new product development, like we've seen with this automatic marketing system, is really the benefits that come from this type of effort. And so we look at, okay, where's the business going to be? Where's the industry going to be in the coming years? And we can, continue to see consolidation, and the bigger getting bigger. And at the same time, the retread plants themselves are not getting the support that they may have once received in 10 or 20 years ago. And that, of course, presents challenges, but it also presents opportunities. And those bigger operators are recognizing that, and they're looking at running their businesses more efficiently and running their plants more efficiently. And at the end of the day, retreading is manufacturing, and those that can help and contribute and be a partner to that manufacturing process, should be involved and can be involved and can contribute to that. And Shamrock has the good fortune of the heritage that we've had, in that I worked under my dad for many years, and I've been involved with the TRIB and TRMG organization, and learned from many of the men and women on those boards. And I also had the very good fortune of working under Marvin Bozarth, who lived here in Louisville for many years. And I think the industry can sort of look to him as the the industry leader. And most people in the TRIB organization, or when you look around the room at these industry events, in some way can reach out or look at their history and have been impacted by Marvin. And so I had the really good fortune of being green behind the ears and willing to learn and listen and learn from him. So we've taken that and then added team members that come from a strong background in retreading, understand the history of retreading, understand the process and the intricacies and really what it takes to be effective. And we're now helping our customers become more effective. And I don't think there's not a lot of companies that can make that claim. And I think not only can we make that claim, we're going to continue to grow that and become a more effective partner to the retreading industry moving forward.
Excellent. Okay, well, Doug, thanks very much for your insights on this issue of the Retreadcast. We appreciate your time and input, and we look forward to welcoming you back on the Retreadcast in the future.
Okay, fantastic. And if I may, I just wanted to say I appreciate you having, well, first of all, providing this format, and then inviting me. This is I think my second time on Retreadcast. So yeah, I appreciate that. And then I do also want to say that Shamrock appreciates and was honored to be a nominee in the Recircle Awards this year, and we appreciate you making that effort to help create that awareness for our industry. I think it's important, especially with, like I said earlier, the sustainability of retreading is something that's probably not celebrated and marketed as well as it should be. And I think the Recircle Awards does a good job of helping garner that attention and is a good boost to retreading in that regard. So we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the latest installment of the Retreadcast with Doug Conley. We will be back very shortly with episode 48. Thank you for watching.